We've talked about Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, Polygon, Chainlink, but we've never really focused so much on NFT. What's an NFT, and what makes it so unique? Let's find that out. Stay tuned! How crazy is the idea of compiling pieces of art to create a unique asset in exchange of crypto tokens? That's NFT for you! In this video, we will talk about the basics of NFT. Before we go any further, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and notify to get more updates from our channel and become more intelligent about the crypto world. NFT is simply just a token. It's not a picture nor a piece of music. It's a token with an identifier that just by coding something into that token and saying this token represents the image that is hosted by a certain crypto website. But without that hosted image, the NFT itself has no other data. It's literally just a token that points to other things. We can make them point to art, or titles or music clips, or even just a URL. This means if we own what it points to, technically, we could change it at any point. The first step is to plan and create a bunch of image assets that you can merge together. You have to be very organized about this because each set of images must look good on top of each other. You can think about how Photoshop layers work with each layer being any variation that you want to add. The next step is to use any program to merge all of these together. The first bit of code is importing a bunch of code that someone else wrote. We don't have to start off from scratch. The next bunch of code blocks is a bunch of code, creating something called an array. In each of these groups, we are adding the directory file of each of our images this way in the code. Later on, we can do what is called a loop through this array to get each one of these images. After we've initialized all those variables, the next step is to create a counter. This is just a number starting at 0, and we will use later for naming our images. The next step is where it starts to get a little more complicated, and that's to create something called a function. We give it some data, and then it will automatically do something with all that data. Functions are really useful when you want to do one simple thing a bunch of times without just copying the code a million times. We can give it a bunch of numbers called A, B, C, D, E, and F. And we're also going to give it a counter. Next, we're going to create a set of variables. Each variable is referencing a specific group, and then the brackets represent the part of the group to pick out and use. We are going to be giving each of these groups different numbers each time, so there'll be selecting different parts for every image. Finally is a bunch of technical code. It's basically going to be taking the first layer and then adding the second layer to it. Then it's gonna be taking the third layer and adding it to the previous merge, and then adding the fourth layer and so on. And then at the end of this code, we're going to save and name our image. Whatever the counter is, that simple function is created. Then there's going to be a bunch of loops, which are something that will run the code inside of them a bunch of times. They will create a variable that automatically increases each time also. Now we simply have to move all of our images to an online server so that we can point to them. After that, we have our image hosted on the web so that anyone can see them. Eventually, we will be setting up the smart contract. But the next step is to create something called a metadata server, which is a necessary step. What it does is allows you to create that pointer, and that's when you are able to create the NFT. So if NFT says, we point to this thing, it could point you to a metadata server, and the metadata server will give us all the information we need about the NFT. The title, the description, and most importantly, the image URL. Alright, now it's time to get into the actual smart contract code. Usually, smart contract code is actually very simple. You just have to be very careful not to make a mistake, or else you might create a vulnerability. Alright, let's say we have actually deployed our very own first smart contract. You can now start minting some NFTs. It means that you can make your digital art become a part of the Ethereum blockchain. Transactions in NFT will tell the person who's pointed at your NFT that you are actually the owner of a certain collection. You can even add logo images, can change the name, change the URL, the description, or you can even put links like the website and the Discord. You can even set up a royalty. So whenever someone sells one image to another person, I could get 10% of that transaction. The last thing on here is that I can actually change which tokens that people pay with it. It is a really cool feature. Marketing NFTs is an entirely new field, since pretty much the only selling point that you can claim is they'll be worth more than what you bought one day. There are utility NFTs, and there are even some royalty-sharing NFTs being created. However, if you're doing it for fun, it's going to be hard, with a sea of other NFT artists out there trying to compete with a product that was free to create and doesn't really offer too much to the customer. Generating NFT is so complicated, so if you have any questions, feel free to comment below. If you learned anything from our videos or have any crypto-related topic that you want us to cover, let us know in the comments section too. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and notify to get more updates from our channel and become more intelligent about the crypto world. See you in our next video!